Welcome to By All Means Necessary, Real Recovery Talk. My name is Marco. I'm a grateful recovering addict. This is episode 19, and we have two very, very special guests in the studio today. We have my daughter, Camille. Hi, Cam.
Hi.
And we have my son, Quinn. Hi, Q.
Hello.
So just wanted to thank everybody for, tuning in to the YouTube channel and all the podcast platforms. I definitely really appreciate it. We're really getting a lot of messages from people telling us that, the podcast episodes are helping people. They're giving them support, strength, definitely giving them some type of ideas of how to handle things if they're going through some situations or if they have a loved one that's going through some situations. And I really appreciate the support. So I think, and if there's any laughing going on, it's because the kids are laughing at me. So just to let you guys know if you're listening or watching this, because I'm like, they always make fun of me. But the whole gist of this episode was to get them here in the studio, which was really hard to do because they're so popular and I really couldn't get them in here. But anyways, the whole gist of the episode was to really understand their perspective of what it was like having a father in active addiction, and also what it's like having a father in recovery. And just to let everybody know, Quinn, I call him Q. Q really doesn't remember too much, but he has a lot of things to say in terms of like me getting out of rehab and in my recovery, and how like he has some stuff to say about that and how that has affected him. So, we'll definitely just go back and forth with that. So just to let everybody know, just to give you kind of a gist of like how this went, I was in active addiction. Camille's 21, so I was in active addiction when she was born till she was 14, and Quinn is 16, so I was in active addiction when he was born till he was 9 years old. I'm coming up on 7 years, March 3rd, God willing. So, yeah, let's start with you, Cam. We kind of went over this whole episode, and I put some notes down to kind of help, guide us. What do you remember, like, in terms of, like, me acting? What was I acting like? Back when I was in active addiction, when you were young? What do you like remember?
Yeah. So all I remember is, I don't really remember too much, but all I can really remember is that you were always very aggressive and very mean, and just sort of, and with the aggressiveness, you were very combative.
Okay.
And also just very distant at times. You would either be with us 24/7 or you'd be very distant all the time. It was one or the other.
Right. No balance.
Yeah, no balance. So I just thought that's just how my dad is. And plus, we were never really around your family. It was always mom's side they were always with. So just by seeing you, I was like, okay, maybe that's just how he is. Like, I don't know.
Right.
So also I was young and confused, and I was never introduced to drugs ever unless it was on maybe a TV show or something, but I never understood any of it. So I always just thought you were very combative and aggressive.
And just really quick, just to let everybody know, you didn't know I was on drugs.
Yeah,
so just so everybody knows that, you knew you both figured it out at the end before I went into rehab. That's when mom and I came out and told the both of you. So, speaking about like mom, like you had mentioned, there's a lot of friction and fighting going on.
Yeah. I just remember you guys just fighting all the time. And I kind of thought that was normal at one point, because I don't know, it was just, I saw it all the time. Like we both saw it all the time. And so I felt like my childhood was amazing and I loved it. But then I realized when I got older, oh, this actually isn't quite normal.
Right.
So, I just thought it was very normal for seeing my parents fight, seeing couples fight. I didn't really think anything of it. Mm-hmm. And just your personality. I just thought you and mom were just polar opposites. And I don't know. That's all I really remember.
And Q, do you remember anything like that at all, or?
I would always ask you guys why are you guys fighting so much? And, you know, it would be daily, every day.
Right.
I mean, you guys did have the restaurant and there was just a lot of like tension, friction between the both of you. But,
Right.
you know, I didn't think much of it, but I would, you know, always ask you guys like,
Yeah, I
why are you
totally
fighting?
remember that. You know,
Like I hated it.
Yeah.
I totally remember that, and you know, definitely just to let everybody know, like, you know, you're in this state of like using cocaine. Obviously, I'm not making an excuse, but it really you're not normal. You're like your whole thinking and your psyche is like totally off. Like, you know, there's no balance. So like what you guys like, Cam, what you were saying is in terms of like, you know, one day I'm on, one day I'm off, one day I'm there physically, but I definitely like feel like the both of you know, like I was not there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I never left. I was always physically there, you know, but I was like in fucking outer space, you know? So, all right. And, I think that, you know, what we talked about was something important in terms of like the embarrassment, you know, like you were saying that you were definitely, when it all came out, when it was all said and done and it came out, you know, that prior to me going into rehab, you know, you guys found out that, you know, I was using drugs. And then I went into rehab, and actually, you know, you guys came, Mom brought you guys to rehab. And I don't think Q, do you remember that or no?
Nope.
No, Q doesn't remember that.
Very fond memory.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
So like, I remember like you guys came to rehab and like you were like crying. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And like Q was like just stone faced cold. Like, so I don't know, like it was kind of tough, but, I think my whole point was like, you know, after all this came out and I got home, this is when we were living in Jupiter, like you were embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, tell us like, you know, like, what did you feel? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, before I even found out that you were using,
Okay.
I was already kind of embarrassed of you because of your behavior. So all my friends would like kind of like favor Mom a lot because they were like, oh, she's present, she's nice, she's here, all that stuff. And then you were kind of the complete opposite. So everyone was kind of scared of you, all my friends, and even I was. And so then like that was already like something that was already happening. And then when you came out of rehab, like again, I was still like shunning you away from my friends because it's like a whole nother, I don't know.
What do you mean? Like a whole nother what?
Like a whole nother ball game. Like it was like I was embarrassed and shunned you away from my friends because you were just combative and aggressive and not really the friendliest. And then after you came out of rehab, I was like, okay, now I'm embarrassed all over again.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's like a whole different circumstances.
Yeah,
like now, like,
it's a whole other reason as to why I'd shun you away. So, yeah. So I always felt like I was kind of like hiding you a little bit.
Really?
Kind of. Because also I didn't see anyone else that was going through the same thing.
None of your friends.
So yeah, none of my friends. I had no idea. Yeah, no one. I never really saw this in their home life or anything like that. So I always kind of was a little bit embarrassed of you before and after the fact.
And you kept this to yourself, right?
Yeah, I kept this to myself.
You kept this to yourself.
Yeah. And so, but I remember the day that Mom told me that you were going to rehab.
Oh, you do?
We were in the kitchen.
Okay.
And I don't know where Quinn was, but that whole like episode happened where you like were asleep for like 8 days. And then.
So, yeah. So just to let everybody kind of get a sense of like, so at the last 6 months, so I used cocaine for 19 years, and the last 6 months was like horrific. I barely slept. And then I came home back to Jupiter, and I basically like crashed in terms of like mentally, and I detoxed myself. I slept for like 8 days. So go ahead. Yeah.
So
go ahead, Q.
I'm a tennis player, so I was injured at the time.
Right.
So I couldn't play tennis. I was homeschooled as well. I think that was like my first year being homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
Mom was working from early morning to late evening, and Camille had school from early morning to, you know,
Yeah.
I guess late evening as well.
So just the two of us.
To the library and stuff. So it was just you and I at home, and it literally felt like I was the only person there. You would sleep, I mean, the whole day, literally. And like me being like 10 years old, I had to like navigate, you know, like being homeschooled, like getting stuff done on time. And at 10 years old, just like navigating a whole like school website by myself, because, you know, I didn't really have you at the time. And it was just me, myself, and I basically. And, you know, I did ask mom, like, why is dad, you know, sleeping so much?
Mm-hmm.
And she really didn't have an answer for me as well, because she didn't know at the time.
Right.
So it was just, that was a very like dark space that I was in, you know, very early in my life.
Right.
Because it just felt like you weren't like there for me, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, man. Like I wasn't, you know, I was physically there, but obviously like I wasn't present as a father and anything for the two of you, you know, at that period. So getting back to like Camille, what you're saying, so in the kitchen, mom told you that, you know, I was going to rehab.
Yeah. So after that whole episode, I thought you were sick. That's what mom told me.
Okay.
And my friends would come over because our house was like, everyone came over to our house, my friends.
Yeah.
And I remember they would always ask me like, oh, why is your dad in the room? Like, I remember I didn't even see you like at all. And I just said, oh yeah, he's sick. He's just, you know, but they would come over like every day, and it was like 8 days straight.
Yeah, I was sick for 8 days.
And they were like, okay, does he have the flu? Should I not even be here? And I was like, I don't really know. Like, I was confused. I just didn't know. So I don't know, that whole thing happened. And then fast forward, we were in the kitchen, me and mom, I was just sitting in the kitchen, and she was like, okay, dad is going to rehab. And then, I don't know, I think like me and her just started crying or something, but like I was still confused, but I kind of understood.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, rehab for what? I thought it was like PT or something, like physical therapy or something. I was like, what does that mean? But then she explained basically like the whole thing. And I was like, oh, okay.
So she told you like I was using cocaine? Like that's what she said?
I think she said cocaine.
Okay.
I think so.
And do you like remember like, Q, do you remember this or no? Okay, so do you remember like what you felt like in that present moment when she told you that? Like what did you feel?
I was just confused.
Okay.
Because I just like wasn't really educated on any of it. So I was just like, okay, so what now? And she said he's going to be gone for a month or so and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. But yeah, then I had to, again, explain to all my friends where you were for a month.
So, yeah, did you lie? Like, what did you say?
Yeah, I lied. And I said, because I had like 4 very close best friends at that time.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. And I even was like, had this like silly high school boyfriend too. And he didn't even know any of it either. I didn't even tell him. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, like I said, because you did work on a boat before cooking for.
Yeah.
So I told them, oh yeah, he's on another boat trip. Like he's gone for like a month.
Right.
And even one of my friend from New York came to stay for a week while you were in rehab. Oh. And I didn't even tell her either. I told her you were also.
And it was just like, do you remember because you were so confused, or like, was it like embarrassment, or you just like didn't know like what the hell like was going on? Like you're like, you know what, I'm not even gonna like share this because I'm like lost myself. Like, what do you think that reason was that you didn't even like tell your friends?
Well, I was shocked.
You were shocked
because I didn't know.
Okay, yeah.
That you were using. So I was like, what? Like I'm just shocked that like you hid it for so long.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know. And then it was like, okay, so what does that mean? Then it was like a whole other thing. Like, are you going to rehab to do what? Like, come clean from what? Like, I didn't understand that.
Right.
So then, but mom didn't know either. So me and her were like learning at the same time. So basically like mom became like the dad of the house and I became mom of the house, and like I was basically like mom, but I couldn't even drive at the time.
Like Q, like you're shaking your head, like what do you?
Yeah, I mean,
like how does that, like what do you think?
I mean, you know, we didn't have dad for a whole month, you know, so it was super stressful on mom, super stressful on, you know, me. I was playing tennis, you know, all day, every day, and I was just gone from really everyone. Like I didn't have you, and I was out playing tennis. I was gone from Camille and, you know, mom.
Yeah.
And it just felt like we were missing a piece.
Right.
You know, we would eat dinner, just the three of us, and sometimes I just didn't even want to be there.
You didn't?
Yeah, it took a toll on me as well. You know, I didn't really fully understand, you know, what you were doing and what you were going through at the time.
Right.
But yeah.
It definitely, like, I mean, you know, we're talking about you're 9 years old. Like, so like navigating at 9, you know, just to let everybody know, like, Q is like a very highly competitive, like, junior tennis player. So like you were playing 4 or 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. And like, that's so much discipline in a job in itself. And then you'd like want to come home to the unit and like, there's no unit. Right? Is that like what you're saying?
Yeah.
And then, you know, Camille is in interior design right now in her senior year of college. So you were definitely always like artistic and, you know, doing a lot of stuff in school when you were like in high school and doing projects and stuff like that. And, like you're trying to bust your ass in high school, like, cause you like, you know, I remember that you picked like 4 colleges, like, okay, these are the ones I'm going to pick. And then like all of a sudden, you know, you're 14 and then like, bam, dad's like going to rehab now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Another major thing that I remember is, well, because they know we're from New York, and then
Oh yeah, they were born actually in New York. Actually, we were driving here on the way, and I asked them if they were born in the same hospital. So like, because like when you do a lot of drugs, you don't, you know, we have to break the ice because we don't want it to be like so serious. But it's obviously like this is a very important topic. But yeah. So anyway, so you're from New York, yeah, and
so we're from New York, and we moved to Florida when I was a freshman in high school. And me and Quinn hated the idea, hated living here. But yeah, so we just hated every second of it. And then, of course, like, then this thing happened with you, like, literally, like, 5 months after we moved. Right. So we were like, well, that's great. Like, how much more shit can we possibly take? Right. And so I remember
I didn't even think of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It was happening like in February of 2016, and we moved in September of 2015. Wow. So I already was miserable, and then this happened, and I was like, what? So it made me grow as a person for sure. But one thing I remember vividly is, well, because I was also like I was basically like Quinn's mom at that point. Like, he came to me for everything, and also siblings are closer than going to your parents, you know?
Right.
And so I remember one time, like, you guys were fighting or something. I don't know, just like some crap that was happening in the house.
Yeah.
And he like came in my room. It was like, I don't know what we were doing, but you guys were fighting. And like, anytime you guys were fighting, like, we would just like come together, or like go in the bathroom or go in my room or go outside or something. And this one specific time, like, he came in my room and we shut the door, and we just both started crying with each other and like hugging each other. And then we were like, we moved here for a better life, and it just got worse. Like, I remember specifically saying that, and like Quinn agreed with me. And in that moment, and I was like, wow, this is like, so, like, that is like drilled in my memory, because I was like, it really was the worst time that we've ever been through. And
Like, would you both agree like that was the worst time in your life
yeah.
so far?
Yeah. I mean, we would always ask each other when it was going to stop, or if it was ever going to stop.
Really?
We would always ask that question.
Like if just all the like fighting and nonsense and shit, and like how it was if it was ever gonna stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you were using, Mom was like slowly like finding things out.
Right.
And then she started telling me something she still kind of kept secret because I'm only 14 and
right.
whatever. I'm a very anxious person too, so I didn't want her to like. She definitely kept some things from me for that reason as well. But I remember she would slowly like say like started tracking her phone and things like that. And I remember one specific time where it was during the day. We were all like at the house, and then all of a sudden you were like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to the gas station," and I was like, "Okay," and then you didn't come back for like 3 days.
Wait. Okay. Hold on. Wait. So wait. Hold on. Let's backtrack. So I said I'm going to the gas station,
and on the couch,
and I didn't come back for 3 days.
3 days.
Fuck. Like, I went like from Florida to New York.
So it was like back. Lunchtime, and we were sitting. This was in Florida. We were sitting. I was sitting on the couch. I don't know where Quinn was. Mom was in the kitchen. You were like, came out of the room. You're like, all right, I'm going to the gas station because you always went to go get dip or whatever the hell you were doing. I don't know. And then,
she's talking about chewing tobacco, or I was going to buy cocaine.
Yeah, right. And so, but you always love to go to the gas station. But you actually would sometimes go and like bring back things like snacks or something. Like I don't know. So you're like, I'm going.
Props to Dad. Buying some cocaine and some Twizzlers.
You gotta snack yourself, so you had to,
Gatorade and Twizzlers and then bags of cocaine. That's great.
Exactly. So I never thought of it. You're like, all right, bye. I'm going to the gas station, and you didn't even like look at us. You just like walked out the door and left. Right. And we were like, okay, whatever. And I was like, kept watching TV, whatever. And then Mom, that's when she was like getting suspicious of you.
Right.
So then she like went on her phone like hours later.
Yeah.
And then she was like, he's in fucking Miami.
Okay, mind you, we live in Jupiter. Like we were living in Jupiter, so that's like an hour and 45-minute drive.
No, it's like 2
hours. Yeah.
Like
well, I mean, I made it fast, but yeah. Okay. So
of course.
So then, like, she was like, he's in Miami, and I was like, I thought he was going to the store. And then she's like, no, he's like in Miami. And then just somehow you just
reappeared 3 days later.
Home.
Oh, somehow. Like, so I was gone for 3 days, and then I just reappeared like nothing happened, or
like didn't come home.
I don't even remember this.
And then like I was like, "Where's Dad?" And then Mom would just be like, "I don't know. Like he's doing something or something." And I'm like, "Okay," but I like didn't ask questions because I'm like, "What are you gonna like?" Because I didn't even. I was like, "Okay, like I'm just gonna trust what Mom says." Like I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you like came back, and I was like, "Okay, hi, like." The store.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How was the store?
How was the store? I don't know. So that specific time was funny, but it just like would happen constantly. Like you would just leave and like I would come home from school, you wouldn't be home. I thought you're at work and you're just not home. Like you just didn't come home.
Do you remember anything like this? You don't remember anything?
I mean, I was at the tennis courts the entire day. So
yeah, that's true.
While I was away from the mess,
I was home, like,
you were home looking for Dad.
Yeah. So that was something. Or even like another thing is you always locked yourself in the bathroom for hours.
Yeah, that like so like hours. Talk about that because like that's seriously like there's that whole like in it's insanity. And like why don't you like share about that and then like I'll kind of like give you like an explanation.
Mm-hmm. So in New York,
right,
we had an apartment.
Right. We had a 3-bedroom, 1 bath.
Yeah, 1 bath. So
we shared,
yeah, the 4 of us. And so he would just go in the bathroom and turn on the fan too.
Yeah.
And the light.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, I have to pee, but like whatever. I just like go walk out of my room, see the bathroom, someone's in there, and then walk back in my room. And then I'd be like, okay, well, I really like have to pee. And Mom's like, I don't know, like he's just in there, like just wait a couple more minutes. I'm like, okay. And then it literally would turn into like hours. And like literally sometimes like our grandma's house was down the block.
Right.
There's been times where I would go to grandma's house to go to the bathroom.
You would have to go down the block to go to the bathroom because I wouldn't come out of the bathroom? Wow.
And like
the fuck?
Wow.
And like sometimes he would knock on the door and like
What would I say?
sometimes he wouldn't even answer. I don't even know. I don't remember. But yeah, sometimes like because I always have to pee. I'm like whatever, drinking water or something, and I'm like, okay, like mom's like, okay, I'll just walk you over to grandma's because like he's just not coming out. I'm like, okay. And so I thought that was kind of weird, but I thought that was just like your personality.
All right.
I just thought you would just go to the bathroom or be on your phone or something. But like what? I thought that was like average. I thought that was like normal.
Yeah.
So I do remember that. What else do I remember? I just
So basically, like, just to let you guys know, to like, so you're like in a psychosis, like mania, like once you do like cocaine or any type of like speed or amphetamine or crystal meth or anything like that, it affects the brain to where you lose track of like time, and it's so like you get so obsessive and like you think that like you get so paranoid and stuff that you basically like lock yourself in a room or you put yourself in a situation where nobody can see you, but you think people are actually like. I remember I thought you guys knew what I was doing and I was so embarrassed, but I didn't know how to stop. I didn't come out. If that makes any sense. I thought you knew what I was doing, but I just didn't fucking care because I just like I was so hooked on it. Like, I was really like in the grips of it, like hardcore, to where like, I mean, you're talking about, honestly, I remember maybe a couple times where it'd be like 2 hours I was in the bathroom and like you're breaking up rocks and like you're like doing lines and like you're just like it's fucking horrible, man. And I'm again like I'm really sorry. That I hope your bladder's okay. Like I didn't fuck your bladder up. Like so.
I think there's been times I like peed in like a
cup.
Yeah. Or
really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Like I swear. Like what?
Should have knocked harder.
Yeah,
I know, man. You should have like said fire or something.
No. But sometimes I would get worried. I'm like, is he okay? And mom's like, yeah. Okay, if you say like, did he like fall asleep? I would think you slept in there.
Honestly, I'm sure there was times where like there'd be days where I mean there'd be times where I would be up for 4, 5, 6, 7 days.
That's crazy.
And so like I remember like passing out on the lure, and I'd be 20 stops from where I was supposed to get off, and people would be like hitting me like, "Yo, man, like, are you okay?" I'd be like, "Yeah, fuck." The first thing, like, I wake up and I look for my bag. Like, where's my shit? Like, where's my cocaine? Like, anyway, so, yeah. So, what, like, do you want to tell any more? Because there's something that I was going to say, but do you have anything more things you want to talk about? Like, more stories? Go ahead. It's getting good. Like a roast.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if mom has said this. But
if mom has said it on the podcast,
yeah, on the podcast, but I don't know. I don't remember it, but she told me it. But
okay.
That same bathroom.
Yeah.
That we're talking about in New York. Yeah. So apparently.
Oh, this story. Yeah.
I was getting ready for school.
Yeah. So let's just preface this story. So you were getting ready for school.
Yeah. I was getting ready for school.
Yeah.
But I lived there. We lived there for 4 years, and we moved out of there in like 2015, like early 2015.
Yeah.
So I was like 13.
Right.
When we moved out. So this probably happened like when I was like 11.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. You're either 11 or 12.
Yeah. And I don't know. Mom said I went into the bathroom to get ready, brush my teeth. I don't know. And I come back out. I'm holding a bag.
Wait. So
a baggie?
You were holding a baggie of what? Cocaine. Wow.
And
so you basically went to the bathroom to get ready for school. You're 11 years old, and you come out of the bathroom, and you're like, "Mom," and you have a bag of cocaine.
Yeah. Apparently, I was like, "Mommy, what's this?" And I'm in my Catholic schoolgirl uniform.
Yeah, you went to Catholic school. I remember that.
Oh, good. And I walked out and I was like, what's this? And I guess mom just like snatched my hair. She's like, oh, nothing or something. But then she got scared because she thought like maybe I thought it was like a fun dip or something.
So mom got scared because she thought maybe you thought it was fun dip
or something.
Like you stick the thing in and taste it.
So she was like, I think she was like looking at me, checking at me.
Like Ariana, she's dialing.
She was like looking at me to see if I'm okay.
And she thought you were high.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was just like, oh, like what's this? Whatever. And I guess she
like
took
grabbed
it. She can tell the rest of the story. But yeah, so she's like, you don't remember that? And I was like, no. She's like, well, thank God, because you got.
Oh, you don't remember this?
No, I don't.
Oh
but
shit!
She told me this,
don't
and I was
remember
like,
that story?
Yeah, I don't remember. But apparently that happened.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, whatever.
No, but I mean, like honestly, no, like I know we're like just to like kind of be like serious, like honestly, like what if?
I know.
But no, think about this, like. You know, like, what if you just were like inquisitive enough to where like, what is that? Yeah. And like back then, like, thank God, like there was no fentanyl. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the whole thing. Like I was talking about, like, you know, you're in this like mania, like this psychosis, like where I don't even fucking remember that I left a bag of cocaine in the bathroom and my 11-year-old daughter found it. Like what if Q would have found it? Mm-hmm. And he's younger and he's more inquisitive than you, and like what if like he would have tried it or ingested it or anything like that? Like I mean there's a lot of things that like I really feel like God was like watching over like us, to be honest with you, because that could have ended like really like bad. Yeah. So do you have more roast stories
roast stories.
Yeah, go, let's roast.
Yeah, so after a while I couldn't keep it from my high school friends anymore.
Okay, so I got out of rehab and then you couldn't like everything was like I was like I was going to meetings and you just couldn't, like all the shit was going on, you couldn't like keep it. So what happened?
Oh, also piggyback on that. Yeah, so even after you got out of rehab and you were clean, you weren't really like mentally clean though.
Yeah, like, that's true. Like what do you mean by that though?
Yeah, so like you still were not present because you were like working on yourself.
Quinn, do you agree?
Yeah.
Like, which is fine, but like I didn't know that was gonna happen because I didn't know anything about this. So mom too, she was like, okay, once you get clean, like that's it.
Yeah, you're
like,
done.
You're fine.
You're done. You're cool.
But then we started figuring out like the steps, and we're like, what is that? Or like how you'd have to go to all these meetings and like have basically your sponsor talking to him 24/7. So we were like, what? So even though you were clean, you still were not even here.
That's a great point. Quinn, do you want to like say anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Cam and I were Cam, mom and I were just so happy that, you know, you finally disassociated yourself from that time in your life and you know what you're doing, and we're just so glad, you know, the nightmare was over. Okay. Because, you know, addiction just doesn't affect you, it really affects everyone around you, everyone. So yeah, we're so happy that it was over, but it wasn't. Like that was, you know, just another battle. Yeah, you know, that we all had to go through.
We had to start like a whole nother process over again. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you guys felt like, okay, dad went to rehab. He's good now. He got out. Everything's going to be good. But like, I'm like fucked because like I'm trying to stay clean and I'm physically there. Just like, let me know if I'm right or wrong right now. So I'm physically there, but mentally I'm like shot, and I'm like, I've immersed myself in like Narcotics Anonymous in recovery. Is that like kind of what you guys are saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like go ahead.
I mean, yeah, you were like basically obsessed with it because you had to literally try to stay clean. So that was that's what you were thinking about 24/7. So still it felt like it was still me, Quinn, and mom still, because you were just so focused on that. But that's when I couldn't lie to my friends anymore because you would literally go to like 5 meetings a day.
Yeah, I said it before, the first 90 days I went to 270 meetings.
Yeah. So
that's a real cocaine head.
Yeah.
Like,
You got a little bit obsessive with
no,
that.
I didn't know what to do.
And yeah, so with that, again, like, because our house was the closest to the high school, so
Right.
everyone would just come hang out at
Okay.
the house again. So
You had no more excuses. Like, you couldn't like
so
make shit up.
everyone was over every single day, like always after school. If they wanted to get picked up later by their parents, like everyone would just come to the house. So everyone was always here, but you were just like in and out of your meetings. You're like, okay, I'm leaving again. An hour later, you came back. An hour later, you left again. So like, I couldn't make up anymore. I was like, yeah, he's in a work. He's like a work meeting. You're a chef. How many more meetings do you possibly have? So then people's like, some of my friends started questioning me, and I was like, okay, well, I kind of have to tell them.
Oh, you did. So what was that like?
I told, yeah, two of my best friends at the same time, and then the other two best friends at the same time. And one of them was being like my high school boyfriend. And so he was like, what? I didn't know any of this. I kept it very vague. I was like, yeah, so, you know, like drugs. They're like, yeah. We're about 15 now. No, I was literally still 14.
Yeah, you're 14, yeah.
Yeah, we were all still 14. And I remember saying, like, okay, like drugs, like my dad like was addicted to drugs. And they were like, okay, I can kind of see that. And I was like, yeah, now I can see that too.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, so that's not really how he normally acted. And they were like, okay, good to know, whatever. And then I was like, yeah, and then he went to rehab and now he's clean and blah, blah. I just like kept it very vague and just told them all of that. So they kind of knew. But they were learning with me too, because I was still learning throughout that whole process of you getting clean and going to meetings and doing the steps and things like that.
Quinn, did you tell anybody of the tennis on your friends, any of this?
I mean, I was so young that they didn't really like care to ask,
right?
I guess, but I mean, I don't think I told anyone.
Really?
You know, like kids' parents would come up to me, oh, where's your dad? You know, and I, you know, would lie. Like I didn't tell a single soul. Because at the time I wasn't educated, so I didn't really truly know. Yeah. But I did kind of at the same time, but yeah, I told no one.
And like, how did that make you feel? Like, I mean, because if you think about it, just like to give everybody a sense of like, so I was like real cool with all like the other fathers of the boys that Q played tennis with, and pardon me, a lot of them knew that I went to rehab. Like most of them knew prior to me going to rehab that I had a problem. A couple of them came up to me and you know, tried to do like mini interventions and stuff like that, and I basically told them to go fuck themselves. Like I didn't have a problem and stuff like that. And then I remember you know, going into rehab, and I'm not going to name names, but a couple of dads were like, yo, you know, we got Q, like don't worry, like he's just going to keep training, like don't worry, like go do your thing, go get right. And so like how do you feel like about that now, like that you had to lie and like and not like really tell people like what the deal was?
Yeah, I mean, at the time I just felt embarrassed.
Did you?
Because like these other kids, their dads are, you know, not like that.
Yeah.
Sorry. And it was just like hard, really hard to wrap my head around it, and like, you know,
and you kept training.
Yep.
And do you think you like use that to like kind of like shut out all the fighting and all the shit, and like do you think like you use tennis to like escape?
I mean, yeah, I was playing, you know, 6 hours a day, so you know, I was gone. I disassociated myself from, you know, all that mess. I mean, I tried to,
right,
at least as much as I could,
right.
And you know, at the time, I just felt like you betrayed us. Like I really thought you were like an enemy to us. You know, I remember like didn't really like want to be near you. We didn't talk as much. I mean, we were super, super close. And just like that, we just weren't really a thing anymore. Like the bond really like broke. And I was sad. Like I would go in my room and be like, I wish I, had a good relationship with my dad. And, I was trying to find it again, find our relationship, and it just didn't work. I didn't, put in the energy. I didn't really put in that much effort because I really had like a grudge against you.
Damn.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way too.
You did too?
Yeah, because the bond was there, and then when you were the 6 months before you went to rehab, like that really bad time, we basically lost the bond. Then when you're in rehab, we lost the bond. When we came out, we still kind of lost the bond. So the bond everything like died down like 2 years. I would say like 2 years after your rehab.
So after rehab, everything kind of died down 2 years into recovery. What does that mean? Like, what? And like, Q, do you agree? Like, what do you mean died down?
Like, well, because you had to rebuild like basically all your relationships.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So like, I mean, it was like a lot. It was like the steps, the meetings, blah, blah, blah. It was like the talk of the not town, but like our family.
Yeah.
All about that. And then it finally died down, I feel like 2 years after.
You agree, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
did you guys ever like think that like, what if he like starts using drugs again? Did that ever cross your mind?
Yeah.
You?
I was paranoid.
Were you?
Yeah.
I didn't even know this. Like what? Like what? Like talk about that. Like what do you mean?
Because I mean, if you did start using again, you would have to go through the same thing, and that's when I started, educating myself on, active addiction and recovery, and I realized how many people, pass away from
from using drugs, overdosing,
from this addiction. And man, I was scared, really scared, because just from those, like those 4 months, 5 months that we were here in Florida, and you were at an all-time high using, I just was scared that that was gonna happen again.
You can?
Yeah, I felt the same way. And I mean, yeah, I did tell you that if you did start, I mean, this is a really good, I mean, everything, I'm not like trying to like go over like anything both of you said, like everything's been like super powerful, like, just to let everybody know, like, I didn't know any of this. That's why we're having, yeah. Don't cry now. Don't cry now. We're more than halfway in.
I lost the bet. I'm the first one to cry. Fuck. Yeah, get it together, man. I didn't know any of this.
Yeah. It's first time telling you.
And I mean, like, if you guys like think about it, like you're listening to this or watching it, like look at like how resilient these two are.
I mean, we didn't want to bash you as well. That's why, like, we hid this. We kept it from you. We didn't want to make you. You did wrong. You put us in a, a bad position.
The worst, man.
Yeah. So we didn't want to, put you even more down, because it was hard on you. I mean, you literally were fighting to save your life. Like the first 90 days. After recovery,
after rehab. Yeah, so after rehab, the first 90 days,
you literally fought literally your life off to save it. So
facts, man. That's I think about it, like you're 9 years old and you're 14 and you guys know this. Like you like have this information and you're so intuitive, like you're sitting here saying like, hey dad, like we could see that you were trying to fucking save your life and not use drugs. Mm-hmm. And like that's not normal. You know, I mean, nobody has like a quote unquote normal, like, you know, childhood, right? But like that's crazy. And I think like this whole story that Camille is about to say right now is, you know, I've shared this story in meetings. You want to talk about what you told me about relapse, the story?
Oh, yeah. I basically told you if you relapse, then you can't be in my life. That's right.
That's the first time I've ever heard that.
That's the first time you ever heard that? No, yeah. She when I got out of rehab, I remember I don't know where we were, but she like just came up to me and it was like basically like it was like mini mom coming up to me and she's like, Dad, I just want you to know if you relapse, like we're done. I'm done with you.
And like how did you feel in that moment? Like what were the emotions?
My feeling was I wish I could have told my dad that.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
You know, the line of addiction from my father being an active addiction and dying, his dad being an addict, my half sister overdosing and dying, like to answer that question was like, fuck, I wish I would have been able to tell him that, man. You know, like I didn't take it like as a jab. You know, I took it like, you know what, man, you need to like, these are your seeds. Like, these are like, you know, like you got to do right, man. And like, in terms of like in the rooms, like, you know, you'll hear, hey, you got to like do it for yourself. I honestly, like for me, everybody's journey in recovery is different, to be honest with you. But like you got like, I wanted to break the cycle. Mm-hmm. Like to show the two of you, like, this is not what you have to do. Like you don't have to go down this route. Mm-hmm. Like learn from me. Mm-hmm. You know, I fucked up. You know, I used cocaine for 19 years, like most of your guys' lives, like, but, you know, like I've shared many stories in meetings about like that whole, like, you know, I would say, man, my daughter came to me and said, Dad, if you fucking relapse, we're done. And then everybody in the meeting would be like, God damn. You know, and like, and but you know, and then you'll hear somebody say, facts, bro. I'm like, the fucking goddamn truth, man. It's the goddamn truth. Like, that's the truth. Like, that's what you need to, like, you need to look in the mirror and say, look, man, if I relapse, I lose everything. I lose them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I lose my kids. Like, so for me, like the way I prioritized like shit for me to stay clean was like, I gotta show them that I'm not like how he was. Mm-hmm. I'm different. I can change. You know, like I'm the first one to raise my hand and say, man, I fucked up. I fucked up royally. Like we were broke. We had no money. Like I caused so much trauma. But at the end of the day, like, you know, I've changed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to, like, you know, that's what I strive for, like, to show you guys. So, I mean, do you have any more roast stories? Or, like, we have, like, about 10 minutes. So,
yeah.
Do you want to share a story? And then what I want to do is, like, really important. Like, after you share the story, I want to ask the two of you, like, after everything is said and done, I just want the two of you just to like give 3-4 minutes about like, you know, how this has impacted your life and what my journey was and all my trials and tribulations, what you've taken with that and how have you put it in your psyche and be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this like this. So one more Rose story and then we'll have you guys answer that question.
Yeah, I guess this is a funny one.
Oh, we have a funny story now. Jeez,
wow.
Thanks. Wow, I appreciate that. A funny. Hey, everyone, we had a funny story now, right? Cool.
Funny story. So basically,
Sure, I'm sure it's funny. I'm the butt of the joke.
Well, yeah. So basically, I got home from school one day,
Uh-huh.
and then you came. No, I came home. No one was home. I go into my room on my vanity, and there's, you know, those like those. This is so dumb. Okay.
It's not dumb. This is a funny story.
Okay, this is a funny story.
So you go home. You go in your room. Yeah.
From school, go into my room, and I see my makeup mirror. You know, the ones that you're able to turn.
Yeah.
On the magnified glass and regular side, whatever.
Yeah.
So I walk into my room, put down my bag, and I look, and I'm very organized, very clean in my room. So anything I see that's misplaced,
OCD.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I look over, and I'm like, this mirror, handheld mirror thing, you can like, you know, move it.
Yeah. It's not north south now. It's east west, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not vertical. It's horizontal, flat. The mirror is flat like that.
Okay.
So I'm like,
Wait, no, you're like, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just
Say
like,
it.
what is, no, I was like, okay, my first instinct, I was like, what, I'm like, I like, my heart like dropped. I was like, oh my God, why is my mirror like that?
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, I've seen this in a show before. I've seen this in a show. Like I've seen it in the show, like that's how people do cocaine. Like that's what they do. So I like slowly walk up to the mirror and I'm like, looking to see if there's like powder like on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like 15 now. Like I don't even know how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I like look over and I don't see anything. And then I didn't want to like touch anything. So I just like did that with like my nail and like flipped it on the other side. I didn't see anything. I was looking on my desk. There was nothing. And I was like, what? But Mom was at work. Quinn was at tennis. And I was like, I'm not going to like freak them out right now. So I was like, but you were on your way home. I was like pacing back and forth in the house. I was like, oh my God, he's going to be on drugs when he gets home. Like, I don't even know what to do, blah, blah. I was like totally freaking out. And I just like didn't know what to do. I went into your mirror. I looked, your bathroom, looked all over the counter, looked in my bathroom all over the counter. I was like searching the room. I was like, I don't see anything though. You were like, fine. You were good place, whatever.
Okay.
So you come home and I'm in my room when you come home and you're like, hey, what's up? I'm like, hey. And I'm like, trying not just be playing it cool, whatever, because I've seen you high before. So I know how you act. Right. So I was just like, hi. And you're like, hey, what's up? I'm like, nothing much. Just, whatever. Yeah, just go back from school, doing homework, whatever. You're like, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. You like went into your room and I was like, he's acting completely normal. Completely normal. And I was just like, I'm so confused, blah, blah. And then I was just like, you have to be brave. You just have to go and ask him. Like, you're home alone with him. He could be high. Like, you don't know. Like, just go up to him and just ask him.
Right.
So I was like, Dad, so I like call you in my room. I literally left the mirror. I didn't even touch it. I was like too scared. I was like, heart was beating, so I was sweating. And I was like, okay, why is my mirror like that? Yeah. But I said it very like, I was like, okay, like, why is my mirror like that? Like, I know why, like, it's left like that.
Yeah.
And then you go ahead, take over.
No, why? What did I say?
You don't remember?
I don't remember, man. I don't remember.
Okay, so then you just burst out laughing. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there like, what? So I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, maybe he is high because like, why is he laughing at that? Like, I just caught him and he doesn't care. So I was like getting like mad now. I was like, what? Like, why is my mirror like that? And then you were just laughing, like going like this, like laughing so hard, whatever. And I was like, what? And then you were like, I was trimming my nose hairs today. I needed a closer mirror. So I was like,
Wow.
what? And then you're like, yeah, sorry, I was just trimming my nose hairs. Sorry. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great to know, whatever. But so we were just dying laughing at that. And you're like, how did you know that? And I was like, oh, I've seen it in like a show, like, so.
Oh, really?
Whatever, yeah, but that was so funny.
That's funny.
And you're like, sorry, I was just using it for my nose hairs. I was not doing coke. I was like, okay, good to know. Thank you so much. So
that's a great experience to have with your dad.
Yeah,
you know?
it's great.
I think
right?
he's doing blow on your thing, but he's actually trimming his nose hairs.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But that like makes me like I have like faith that like you'll never relapse, but that sometimes like. Those little like,
really?
It's like I guess like a trigger. I don't really know how to explain it, but like sometimes I can guess myself, and I'm like, oh, like maybe he is, or the time like Quinn found like the open beer cans, or stuff.
Oh, what happened to you?
Yeah, so there's like Modelo's in
Modelo's beer, yeah,
and they were full. They're closed, and then a couple hours later I go downstairs and I see them in the recycling bin, and then I freak out. I'm trying to call Cam and she's not picking up, so I text her and I'm like, dude, I really think Dad relapsed. So
you're in Florida, but you're calling her. She's in New York.
Yeah, she's in New York. She's not answering me. I'm flipping out.
Okay.
Mom is sleeping. You're sleeping. And
I might be drunk sleeping.
Okay. And I'm like, no, there's no shot.
Wow.
I
thought
I literally broke down, and I was like, after all of this, like, for beer, for beer, are you serious? So I go upstairs and I'm trying to ask Mom, who touched those cans, if she did.
Right.
And you're still in the room, and I'm like waiting till you get out. And I go and I ask Mom, and I'm like, did you touch the beer cans? And she was like, yeah. And then
and how did that make you feel?
The relief I felt was crazy. I texted Cam and I'm like,
no, he didn't.
Thank God it was Mom pouring them out so you don't touch them.
Yeah.
But I mean, the relief I felt, crazy.
Yeah.
All right, we got to like wrap up, but really quick, can you give us a couple minutes? All right, cool. Well, definitely to like wrap it up, like give me like 3-4 minutes each of you to like through this whole process of like finding out your dad's an addict. Okay, all the trauma that you guys had went through, all the shit that you went through, I put Mom through, I put the family through. Getting into rehab, getting clean, and then that whole cycle, another cycle of me being gone and me basically like submerging myself into recovery, and then like where we're at today, present day, like 6 3/4 years clean. Like what have you learned? Like what have you taken from this whole journey? And how have you instilled it in like your life and like you moving forward?
Do you want to go? Okay. Well, the first thing is that sometimes I forget that it's not just you going through something. It's me going through something, Quinn going through something, Mom going through something.
Right.
So even though everyone's kind of looking at you, don't forget that you're part of it too, and that you deserve like what do you call it? A pat on the back or whatever it's called.
You guys do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
No. Yeah. No.
Like sometimes I forget like I've been through something too.
You've been through a lot of shit.
Yeah. So I forget that like I've grown as a person and not just you.
Okay.
So I kind of forget to give myself some credit. But something else is that like yeah. So, I mean, I was just embarrassed for a really long time, but then Mom made a very good comment to me a couple years ago, that was like, look, I know you're embarrassed and you don't want to tell anyone, but one, this is a big part of your life now, and it's not good to hide that. And two, it's like a bittersweet scenario, like situation that happened to you, because we're a family that was able to get through the addiction and be able to recover, and not a lot of families get to do that. So that kind of changed my perspective. Like, it's possible for people out there. And it even helped me help 2 interactions with 2 other people. One of my friend's moms in high school was an alcoholic, and another girl in college, herself, she was an addict. And so, I mean, obviously it's sad that I went through it, but I'm able to help others now.
Right.
And guidance and just like a helping hand. And so it feels good that we've overcame that. And now I'm able to help back and give back to people.
Right.
And to just, it takes time to rebuild this relationship. I think it took us years to rebuild this relationship, but I think it was worth it, because now look at us now, you know?
Yeah.
And and just remember, if kids are a child of a addict, that it is, I think, 43% genetic. And so I kind of consider that while I'm drinking. I've never been interested in drugs even before this. And after this, obviously, I'm really not interested in doing drugs.
Okay.
But yeah, I do watch my alcohol, because I've seen it firsthand, and I don't want to be what you were. So I just,
sorry, I don't want to be where you were. Okay.
No,
that's great.
I
That's
definitely
great.
consider, but it's also bittersweet, because I got to see that, and it showed me that I don't want that, you know?
No.
So
Definitely. I don't want the 2 of you to ever have to go through my choices and what I went through. Q?
Well, it was really like a roller coaster of emotions, from having a strong, relationship with you to, wanting you out of my life for, destroying us, to now coming up on 7 years clean. So proud of what you've achieved, so proud of the hard work you've put in, and so proud of, you understanding what we went through as well, and, building a better relationship with all of us still to this day.
Right.
I mean, we're trying as a whole team, it's a team effort. And, in this generation, a lot of drugs, alcohol, are coming out now. It's being consumed by minors.
Right.
And, I have been around that before, and I always just think in the, back of my head, those horrible days where you were gone, where you went missing, where you were fighting with mom, acting erratic to, every interaction, you've had, and it's not pleasing at all. I don't want to act like the way you did.
Right.
And I don't want anyone acting like the way you did and getting addicted to something that kills you and kills everyone else around you.
Yeah, I think and kills everyone else around you. Destroys. Like, literally, like, I think I was days away from destroying us. But I believe God had a plan, and he saved me, and he showed me a way to better myself and get help and come back even stronger and stay clean one day at a time, and, rebuild everything with the 2 of you, and make sure that I can, yeah. So you guys, I want to thank you, both of you, for like the strength. Again, the strength for coming in and like opening up, like to, you know, to share your pain, what you both went through, but you both like came together and you supported each other like so strong, and you were there for each other and for mom, and mom was there for you, and you know, the two of you looking out for each other. There's a lot of horrific things that happen in terms of like families dealing with somebody that, you know, the father, the mother that are in active addiction. But this podcast, this episode was to show you like it can be different. There is hope. There is help. Like there is perseverance. Like there is fucking like a greater force, a higher power out there, a God out there that, like, you know, they put something in front of you, and it's what you do with it, and it's how you overcome it. And this is like the whole gist of this episode, like to show everyone like it can be done. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. But there is hope. So I hope that whoever is listening to this episode, or you're watching on the YouTube channel, I hope that, you know, you got a good message from this. This was really good. I want to thank both of you for coming in and sharing your experience. All right. I only cried twice, so.
Not bad.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you know, if you're struggling, or if you know of someone struggling in addiction, or if you're having a hard time in recovery, you always can reach out to me. You can email me at BAMN realrecoverytalk@gmail.com. You can actually message me on the YouTube channel, on Instagram. If you need to call, there's addiction hotlines. Like, please get help. Like, it works if you work it. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bam.
Yeah.